What's with the lawsuit? Hey, what's up, Realtor's Toolbox? Michelle Haas here, hanging out with Realtor Rich.
Hey, Michelle, great to see you. How you doing today?
So good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Good. You and I were talking about the NAR lawsuit, and it is full of craziness. So we decided to make a video to share with everybody what's going on. So Rich, what's going on? What is this lawsuit that everybody's talking about? And why do we call it the NAR lawsuit?
Exactly. Why do they call it the NAR lawsuit? Well, I guess it's probably the easiest way to refer to it. Viewers that are brand new to real estate, especially. All of a sudden, you got your real estate license a few months ago or 6 months ago. You're excited about your real estate career. And all of a sudden, you hear there's a NAR lawsuit. And NAR, what is NAR? If you don't know, that's the National Association of Realtors. But realistically, it's not actually a National Association of Realtors lawsuit. There's a lot more to it. And we're going to dive in and we're going to break some of that down. But just to set your mind at ease, yes, so there was this big lawsuit. We're going to talk about it. And you may be nervous and concerned that you're not going to get paid commissions anymore or what's going on. There is so much misinformation out there. But let me put your mind at ease. You are still going to be able to represent buyers, earn commissions, and get paid just the same as we always have. The way we represent the commissions that are going to be paid, that's changed a little bit, and we're going to dive in and touch on that just a little bit today. But we're going to be talking about the NAR lawsuit and settlement, which involves a lot more than just NAR. In fact, we're going to start off by just doing an introduction and talk about what the lawsuit is, what it means, and then we'll break down the rest of the details. But the NAR lawsuit was several home sellers that had attorneys that filed a class action lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors and 5 other large real estate brokerages. And I've got the names of those right here. I don't want to forget any of them, but Keller Williams was an easy one to remember. Home Services of America, RE/MAX, and Anywhere Real Estate, Inc. Those are all some of the larger companies that were involved in this lawsuit. So the suit was a class action lawsuit that claimed federal antitrust laws were violated with mandatory requirements that listing brokers were compensating buyer brokers agents through MLS and that MLS unfairly propped up commissions. So that's the crux of the lawsuit, is that, maybe sellers didn't have any negotiating power in the commissions because of the way it was being represented by the National Association of Realtors and the MLSs by publishing it in the MLS, what the commissions would be. So the lawsuit was filed in Missouri. It's a class action suit. And the outcome of the lawsuit occurred in October of 2023, so a few months ago. And the lawsuit was given preliminary approval through a judiciary panel in Missouri. So I'm looking at some notes here because I don't want to miss all these key things like judiciary panel, which makes everything sound so official. But that's where the lawsuit was filed. And it still needs final approval and ratification from the judge. And then again, the Department of Justice for the United States will also have an opportunity to comment on that.
So they pushed out that date, right? That now it's August 2024?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes. So, yes, we did find out just recently that where they were going to implement that in July of 2024. Now they've pushed it out to August of 2024.
Okay.
And this is not going to be our only video on the NAR lawsuit. In fact, we fully intend to bring you updates monthly on what's going on with this lawsuit and how you're going to be affected. And we're going to bring this every single month, whether there's been no changes or updates in the previous 30 days, because we want everyone to be up to date the whole way. So let's chat a little bit about the penalties. I don't know if you have the penalties there, Michelle. We might as well cover, the penalties. And I mean, it's a penalty, but it was a settlement. So
So not everyone has settled. Home Services of America hasn't settled yet, but maybe they will. But
That's
maybe they
right.
won't.
That's
We'll
right.
see.
And yeah, exactly. And their affiliates, which actually kind of leaves them a little bit at risk because they haven't settled. But the jury did award $1.8 billion in damages in this lawsuit. And so there are companies in here now that are wanting to settle and for different reasons. But
Yeah.
I think we found out that NAR did settle, the National Association of Realtors. How much did they settle for?
NAR settled for 418 million.
Okay, so
They have 4 years to pay that.
right. So NAR settled for 418 million, and we do know that NAR, in their agreement to settle, did not admit guilt. And a lot of people wanted to know, well, why did NAR settle? NAR, and they came out with their statement pretty early when they settled. They said, we settled because this is what's good for real estate agents. And the National Association of Realtors, part of your fees that you're paying every year at your brokerage, very likely there's a little contribution that goes to NAR. But NAR is trying to end the drama of this lawsuit, and that's why they settled it, because it's good for real estate agents. And they didn't want to create and leave agents exposed, and so they settled it. So I think that's a good thing. They were putting the agents first.
So I I get that. I hear you, but I think in the eyes of a lot of the American people who believe you don't settle unless you are a little guilty.
Yeah.
So why are we settling for that amount of money? Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because that kind of leaves a little question.
It could leave a little question, absolutely. But I think because they lost the lawsuit, to think that they could continue to litigate it to win wasn't looking good. But maybe that's why Home Services of America is still litigating. Maybe they feel that there is something to get there. But we know that Keller Williams also settled. They settled for 70 million, which is a big chunk of money. And I know some of the others settled as well.
Remax settled for 55 million.
Right. And Anywhere Real Estate Inc. settled for 83.5 million. So yeah, you start adding that up and it's like, well, 418 million, 70 million, 80 million, 55 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. It starts to add up to quite a bit. But the next thing that's important to talk about is, are you as an agent personally at risk? And the answer is no. So by NAR stepping up and settling for 418 million, you as an agent and a member of the National Association of Realtors, and you're a member of your local association, and then maybe the association in your state, they have alleviated you from that by settling. So you are not personally at risk. Also, NAR officers, directors, other participants and affiliates are also not at risk because NAR settled. And I think that's part of their reason. I think they wanted to limit the reach of the lawsuit to the agents themselves. So what about misinformation, Michelle? I mean, we know there's a lot of misinformation out there, but what's the biggest thing that you're seeing out there that people are misinformed about regarding the lawsuit?
I got a call from a client who said, "Hey, I sold my house last year. When does my refund come?" I talked to somebody else who says, "Well, I want to list my it's a mobile home. I want to list my mobile home soon. So I'm not paying this 6%. I saw in the news that 6% is dead. So, and do I need to pay a buyer's agent? I don't think I need to pay a buyer's agent. I mean, that's just done away with now. So I'm only paying you."
Right. Yeah. So a lot of misunderstanding of what goes on.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we're talking about the commissions and the misinformation. It's absolutely not true that the commissions are gone. So there is going to be a little bit of a different process. There'll be a modification of that process that'll get implemented in August of 2024. So we'll see a few changes just in the presentation of the information. But sellers are still going to be allowed to pay buyer broker commissions. Sellers who want to attract as many buyers as they can to their properties are still going to want to offer to pay a commission to a buyer's broker in order to ensure that they're getting as many showings of their property as they can get, because the more buyers you have coming, the more opportunity you have to bid the prices of the real estate up and get the maximum the maximum proceeds from the sale for the seller. The services that are provided are worthy. It brings exposure to sellers' real estate, especially the sellers that, at this very moment are thinking about selling. They're still going to want to have the max exposure to get their property sold. There's too much money involved to begin restricting the commissions and not get the showings, which lowers the demand for your house, which will lower the sales price ultimately of your house. Because if the house isn't selling, ultimately agents will talk to their clients about lowering the price. At some point, there's a price someone's willing to pay to get your house. But if you're not getting the exposure, then you're going to need to start lowering the price. It's the only other way to get the exposure you want. But if you can get the max exposure from the market that's out there and you're offering a commission, you're going to get that exposure. It will help you indeed to be able to sell your home for a higher price. So super important. That misinformation is going to continue to carry on. There are going to be a lot of agents out there that are going to need to recognize that part of their job now is going to be to clarify what's gone on because of the lawsuit and how it impacts or doesn't impact the sale of real estate. So yeah, that's pretty important stuff.
I think there's so much confusion on what it means and what it doesn't mean. And I love how in our society, people can write an article or make a video and kind of express themselves, but it's also contributing to the confusion. And people love to create clickbait and say stuff like 6% is dead. Commissions have always been negotiable. And in some areas, 6% is warranted. And in some areas, it's closer to 5%. And it just has varied for the whole time. And
every commission that's paid is negotiated at the time the agent meets with the seller. And sellers and the agent representing the seller almost never know who the buyer is going to be. So there's no collusion on price or commissions. Like to get the property ready to be on the market, get it on the market and create as much exposure as you can, establish the price based on the other comparables in the area, and then cooperate with other agents on commissions to help get showings, because showings are what sell real estate. So yeah, I don't think any of that will change. Maybe the methodology and the process that we go about doing that. And that really brings us to what has changed. And I guess the biggest thing that's changed with this settlement and lawsuit is the decoupling of the commissions, in the sense that the listing agents are no longer going to be able to advertise the commission they're willing to pay in the MLS. So there's a field in MLS where you put the commission, and that field you will begin to see is going to be deleted out of all the MLSs, and it will not be advertised on the agent-facing portals that they're searching for real estate for their buyers. It's not going to say that. So there will be new processes for learning what the commissions are and if the seller is cooperating and willing to pay a buyer broker commission. And so, as we roll that out going forward, as the changes become mandatory in August, there will be new ways of communicating what the commission is and how much the seller is paying. And we're going to bring that to you month by month as all of this continues to develop.
You think if I had my own website and I advertised my own listings, could I put that commission there?
Yes. And I think there will be other websites that you'll be able to put it. There already are other sites out there where you can do it. They're not a part of NAR or MLS. And so, but we'll see. we'll see what the guidance is on that. And we're going to follow the legal guidance as well, because we're going to protect ourselves, right? The license to sell real estate is extremely valuable to you. So you're going to want to, make sure that you're playing by the rules, because you are going to want to earn those commissions. I know a guy right now, he's selling his home and relocating into another state, and he is contributing $22,000 to the buyer's closing costs, just the closing costs, which has nothing to do with commissions. So sellers are already doing that because it behooves them to make things work in their favor. It's a negotiation and a process and a series of events that need to take place in order for them to be able to sell and then go on to accomplish their goals of purchasing other real estate or moving or job transfers and these kinds of things. But so there's just literally hundreds and thousands of examples of sellers contributing closing cost money. They've already been paying the commissions because they want to get the exposure. So we're going to see that. So the only thing that you wouldn't be able to do is promote in MLS in the agent remarks that your seller is willing to pay 2.5% to the buyer's costs if the only thing that represents is the commission. Now that's not going to be allowed, but if you put a lump sum in there that goes towards commissions and closing costs, then yes, it can be in there. So we do know that agents will be able to do that, and that's helpful information. But just that, the commission part's not going to be advertised in there, and we've kind of gone over that. I feel like we're beating a dead horse with this a little bit, but yeah. I think the final thing for today is talking about how are the government-sponsored entities like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, how are they responding to this? Because now if agents are going to include commissions in with closing costs, these loans have limits on how much money a seller can contribute to the buyer's closing costs. Well, as of today's date, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA have already jumped on board and are 100% in agreement that if a seller was already paying, say, a 3% contribution to a buyer's closing costs, that it's okay to include the commissions on top of that, and they would not be restricted by that. So they're going to allow the limit to go up by the amount of the commissions, because it has nothing to do with the advertising of commissions. This just has to do with who's paying the costs. Commissions were already being paid, and now we've got closing cost money that's going to go to the buyer's closing costs. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA have already agreed to it. VA hasn't come forward with their statement, but I would be very surprised if they were not jumping on with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA. They're certainly going to want to support their veterans and make sure that the veterans are getting at least the same benefits that that FHA is agreeing to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So really there's no change there, but just that they're agreeing to allow the total contribution to include the commissions and not restricting it. So otherwise it would be restrictive. So so I think that's a good thing.
Well, how can they not? I mean, with the whole dilemma,
yeah, that's absolutely right. They just got to be on board with that, and they're not in control or trying to restrict people from being able to do what they had been doing for decades anyway. So it doesn't surprise me that they jumped on board and that they're accommodating for that.
We're all trying to help the average American and sometimes non-American purchase a home. So for everybody to be on board, for that to work, is good for everybody.
Exactly. And from what I can see, and everybody, you should do your own research, check it out, dive in a little on your own. But from what I can see, there's going to be some semantics and some, just the protocols are going to change a little bit, but the variables that we're dealing with here are going to remain pretty much the same. Certainly, there's going to be brokerages that are going to test the waters. They're going to be buyers and sellers that are going to test the waters on this because they've heard things and they're going to think about maybe not having to pay commissions or whatever. But is the end result of that what is in their best interest, as a seller. What do they accomplish? And agents are going to educate their sellers to make sure that they're helping their sellers to get the most money in the sale of their property, because that's the responsibility of the agent. As an agent, we have a fiduciary duty to our sellers, and the agents representing the buyers have a fiduciary duty to their buyers. So if it's in everybody's best interest and the seller's willing to pay a buyer broker commission and it gets them more exposure, I think everyone's going to be in agreement, and there's not going to be a lot of change to the money and how agents are being paid. But we will bring it to you as it changes month by month, and we're looking forward to following this, until it goes to full implementation in August, and we're going to bring it to you every single month.
This is going to be 2024, the year of the lawsuit. And what happens next? I hear some people who are saying, oh, that means home prices are going to come down. But I don't even see that happening. I mean, how? Especially with the lenders that are cooperating with the way that this money could work. Why would prices come down for this? There's so little inventory and there's so pent up energy. If the interest rates came down a little bit, we would see a rush towards the market.
Oh, there's no question.
And then prices would come up even more.
Yeah, this is definitely not going to negatively impact the market. I don't think. The only thing that's negatively impacting the market right now is that interest rates are considerably higher than they were 18 months ago. So,
right.
But we'll see as the market shifts and changes how that rolls out here over the next 6 months.
This is an intense topic, and there's a lot to talk about, a lot of moving parts right now. And as of right now, so much uncertainty, so much confusion, but we're happy to summarize and try and clear up as much as possible. And yeah, we'll keep doing it. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, and if you're feeling emotional and a little uneasy about it all, rightfully so. This is a big deal. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, like we've mentioned, and we want you to find your comfort in it all, and it's there. So we're going to continue to do our research and stay updated. And keep an eye out for our video on buyer presentations and establishing your value in presenting to buyers and all of the things that you're going to do for them. And we're looking forward to putting that together. And we're developing all of that right now, but there's lots of good scripts and other things you're going to be able to say to accentuate the value that you're bringing, and you bring huge value in helping buyers to be able to buy homes. So
very important.
That's a wrap for today. We're the Realtors Toolbox. Tell your friends if you like this video. Share it with other people. Like and subscribe. Jump on board and be a part of our journey with you as we help you to maximize your real estate career and earn lots of commissions. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day. See ya.